Hey y'all, it's Diana and I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Behind the Sign. So this one has to do with it's almost like a twofer. It has a little bit to do about my real estate career and it has to do with the buyer client. So I had this buyer client that we went under contract on a house. They were so excited. It was a cute little house and it was perfect for their family. They were absolutely excited. We were real close to closing. It probably just a couple of weeks out when the appraisal came back. And this particular appraiser said that in the condition that the home was currently in, he could not give it the value that we needed to close the loan. It actually came in below contract price. Now he did say he would be able to move up the value if the house was painted on the exterior. For the type of loan they were having, there was a lot of chipped paint, and VA would not allow that. And the VA appraiser made it a point to say, I cannot give you the value for this home in the condition that it currently states. Now, if someone wants to paint it, then we can go ahead and get you to the value that you need because it won't be any more chipped paint. So I expressed this to my buyers and said, look, this is what we need to present to the sellers to get this to work because we need the home to appraise in order for you to get your financing. Everybody knows how that works. So I got a hold of the listing agent and called her up and I told her the situation that we were in. She's like, oh, I'll go ahead and present it to my buyers, to my sellers, and we'll see what needs to be done. So the sellers came back with, no way, we're not doing anything. They can just go with a different loan. We're not going to paint. We're not doing anything. The home is sold as is, and that's how it's staying. So the agent calls me and says, we have a little bit of a situation here. They're not going to paint the house in order for it to close. Can your buyers go with a different financing program? Like, well, I'll get back to you again. So that's how real estate works. There's so much back and forth, negotiations, conversations. We need to keep everything going. So the buyer wife said, well, my husband is away, military. I've got two little children. I guess, will they let me paint it? And I'm like, whoa, we're going to have to check about that, because some sellers were like, you're not touching my house because you don't own it yet. So we were able to get that to work out to where they said, sure, you want to paint it, that's fine. And if you don't end up buying it, we got a painted house. Ooh, that doesn't go over very well. I wholeheartedly believe in the golden rule of I want to treat others how I would like to be treated. And I was like, that just does not, that's just kind of rough, So I did let the buyer know that they do have the option of painting it, that the seller would let them. Well, again, she was a mom with two young children. The husband was called out on duty. So I got up my son, who was in high school at the time, and said, hey, I need your help. Mama needs the closing. This family needs a home. Mama needs your help. So my son and I went over there on a Saturday and we helped this this buyer client of mine, because she was there as well, and we painted the house. Appraiser came back out. We appraised. The home closed. And at the closing table, the seller's agent, who actually was also the owner of a company, said to me at the end of closing, I have never had an agent go above and beyond the way that you did for your buyer clients. Would you be interested in coming to work at my company? And I was honored, by all means, just definitely honored. That made me feel so good, because at the other company I was at, I was probably 3 years into real estate, maybe 2, somewhere around there when this happened. The broker at the company that I was with at the time said to me, now I'm not from here, it is now home. I've been here for 25 years. But at the time, I hadn't been here that long. And this broker said to me, you know, honey, you need to learn to be a little more Southern. You're just a little too harsh and a little too brash. And that's just not going to work. You're just not going to make it in this business. So that kind of stuck with me because I'm like, you know, I don't think I could ever talk to anyone like that. And I am myself. I'm very transparent. Anyone who works with me, anyone that knows me, knows that I am going to be polite, but I am going to tell you what needs to be said. You know, sometimes good, sometimes bad. So to have this other broker be so pleased with how I treated and worked for my buyer client and got them into their home that they wanted with the assistance of my son, I did leave that other company and I went with this other small brokerage and found a wonderful work family. So that is a story that I wanted to share with you, that things always work out. And again, like this was an appraisal that they weren't going to appraise the home without a little bit of work and sweat equity. It worked. The buyer was happy. I was happy. Everybody was happy. So thank you for joining me on this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.